I've done a lot of posts on silicone baking mats, silpats, silicone molds, and things that you can bake in, and also the difference between using parchment and using a baking mat, but people still have a lot of questions. I want to explain and simplify how to make the decision in which tool to use while you're baking, because you need to think like an ingredient, and once you think like the ingredient, you'll already know which tool to use. So I would never have a tool in my kitchen that doesn't do two jobs. It has to earn its keep, and parchment and silpats absolutely do that. Parchment is a great thing to bake with. It can be cut to any size, which is really convenient. It's reusable, it's thin, and it allows for really good heat transfer. It keeps your trays clean, non-stick. It's a great way to transfer things on and off so that they can cool without continued carryover cooking. If you add water to this tray and put the parchment down, it will curl. Best to use on a dry tray and a dry countertop. Maybe you want a crisp chocolate chip cookie, you're going to want the heat that's under here to be able to pass through very easily. And this parchment isn't going to stop the heat transfer. Do you want the top to be brown and the bottom to be soft? Then you're going to double pan it. Do you have something really sticky that you don't want to have to fight on your tray and you need insulating properties? Then you're going to want a silpat. Silpats are known as a silicone mat, but in reality, they have a mesh. It's a weave of glass inside, and that glass is fiberglass. If you cut this in half thinking you're going to make it fit somewhere, or it gets cut on accident, you have to and must throw them away. This is different than 100% silicone baking mat. Do you own a bunch of silicone baking mats that aren't giving you the results that you like? You might need a fiberglass reinforced one. Not all silicone is made the same, and not all has fiberglass on the inside. Silpat is a name brand, the most well-known. They are not cheap. The benefit of using a silicone baking mat is that it slows the heat transfer. The heat that goes through is not going to go through as fast as when you're using parchment. So if I put a molasses cookie on here and the heat from the bottom is slowed down, that butter is going to melt and the cookie is going to spread more. If I'm making a sugar cookie, I'm not going to get as dark of a bottom. The fiberglass mesh helps with heat transfer because these are insulators. If you own just a silicone baking mat, you aren't going to get the same result because the fiberglass is meant to help conduct the heat more. So think like what you want your finished product to be. Think about the ingredients in your baked goods. How is the butter going to melt? Is the water that lives in there going to steam off, or is it going to be reabsorbed by the ingredients? One full sheet is not meant to go in the oven. It is meant for me to use as a countertop tool to roll out doughs. You can use parchment to roll out dough, but this is going to slide around. Silpats will not slide around if you flip them upside down and smooth them out. This sticks to the counter and creates a really great non-movable surface so you can roll out high-fat doughs, things like sugar cookie dough, pie crust. I will stack dough between two parchments that's been rolled out, put it in my cooler to firm it up, and then move it into the freezer. Once it's in the freezer, I could have 6 or 7 doughs lined up here, and I can store other things on top because they're frozen. So this is an example of a silicone mold that I have cut for easy release. I filled them with a mousse component to a dessert that when I would push it out, I didn't want the other ones getting in the way. A nice, clean release. These are 100% silicone. They do not have glass reinforcement. You can cut these, and these go from freezer to oven, a pre-shaped cake. Oftentimes this is used for entremet. The depth and circumference that you need to fit into something like this. This one cannot go in the oven, but it goes in the freezer. So you put mousse in here, you push in the cake, and maybe a crunchy element and some more mousse, you freeze it, and you pop it out. I don't know if you've seen these bubble cakes on Instagram and whatnot, by taking your other components and gently pushing them in, filling them with mousse, and then popping them out once they get out of the freezer so that you have these beautiful shapes. It does not have fiberglass. It is dishwasher safe. The two things that people have adapted for silicone baking that I don't agree with, cannelés and madeleines. Traditionally baked in a copper mold, copper has really good heat transfer and silicone does not. This is an insulator. Heat doesn't go through this as quickly and efficiently as through copper. The same is true of a madeleine pan. To get a really effective bake on both of these items, a madeleine signature bump is reliant on really good heat transfer. Cannelés need to be caramelized until they're almost black. That is not going to happen in a silicone mold. If you were to bake a cake in here, or maybe brownies in this one, you would not get the crunchy edges the way that you would in a metal pan. Where and when do you use silicone mold? For molding things and for sticky things like caramel. You don't even need to grease it up. Just pop out that bunch of caramel and slice them up and wrap them, and you have beautiful caramels. 100% silicone without any fiberglass mesh. Great for confectionery work, non-stick, easy to pop things out of, dishwasher safe, and Sil-Pats will last forever. It is not dishwasher safe. Silicone without fiberglass reinforcement is dishwasher safe. They're still recommended to be hand washed, and if you're finding a transfer of too much smell from your cleanser, use a more gentle cleaner that has less fragrance. Rinse them very, very well. Baking soda will remove odors and any residual grease by forming a paste that you leave on that's pretty thick for as long as is necessary. If you leave it for 24 hours and it still smells or doesn't look or feel the way that you want it to, do it again. The lesson is take care of them as you go, and they won't end up a mess, cut, smelling bad. And if you own 4 or 5 of them, you know you have an investment. It pays to take care of them. As you work through your kitchen and you make decisions about what tools to use, think like your ingredient. So use some of this information not only the next time you're shopping, but the next time you're deciding how to bake something. Think like how you want the final product to be and how your tools can get you there. And take care of your tools. If there are people in your household who are treating this like a cutting board or don't understand how expensive it is, you need to just do a little bit of training. A lot of people talk about silicone mats being really hard to store. If I were a home baker, I would keep 4 or 5 half sheets, 4 or 5 quarter sheets, and then I stack Sil-Pats in here. I think it's really helpful to get to know what tools you have in the kitchen, because when you say you don't have the room, I would say, yeah, you probably don't. Nobody does. No kitchen has all the room that you need to have every tool in the world. I don't enjoy a gadget unless a gadget can do more than one job. These tools and supplies, they do a lot of jobs. So I will always have parchment, Sil-Pats, baking sheets in a 1/4 and half sheet. I'll always have metal Madeleine pans, copper cannelé pans. I will always make my caramels in a silicone shape. And I will invest in fun things that make life really enjoyable. If you can come up with the best result just by understanding the tools, ingredients, and your recipes a little bit better, you're gonna have a lot better results and you're going to enjoy the process so much more.